If you want to be a trustworthy witness, you probably shouldn't lie about something that's so easy to show that you're lying about. We have officially entered into week 5 of Karen Read's trial, and day 18 wrapped up on Monday. Hi, I'm Sydney Rushing. I'm a criminal defense attorney from the state of Michigan. Now let's talk about it. First to the stand was witness number 33, Nicholas Bradford, and he's a DNA expert from Bow Technology. Lally did the direct examination, and of course we got all of his background information first, and then once they reach their findings, what happens is they submit them, and then somebody else basically double checks them and make sure that they agree and confirm with them. There was a lot of questions about the business, its practices, procedures, how they do stuff, how they store things, and things like that. He tested the taillight, and he suggested that the DNA that was found on the taillight strongly suggests that it's John O'Keefe's. He tested the hair and reference samples, and when it came to the hair, he wasn't able to make a determination because he wasn't able to make a profile and a lot of other science words, so it had to have an additional testing that he does not do. He also tested Buchanan's and Proctor's DNA and essentially came to the conclusion that they could be ruled out as the unknown contributors of the DNA that was found on these things. On cross-examination, Jackson had him confirm that he basically can't rule out Proctor, but he can say it suggests against it. He also confirmed that he was not asked to test the police chief's DNA, Brian Higgins, Brian Albert, or Kevin Albert. And witness number 34, Carl Mayosako, was called to the stand. He's also a DNA analyst with Bow Technology. Lally did the direct examination. We got all of his background information, and then he is the senior person. So basically, when somebody submits their findings and their conclusions, he goes in, he tests them himself to see if he comes to the same conclusions. He said he has to do proficiency testing 2 times a year, and the same is for Bradford. And he does the type of testing that Bradford doesn't do, which is called mitochondrial DNA testing. And what I learned from this is that mitochondrial DNA only is on the maternal side of the family, unlike nuclear DNA, which is both sides of the family. Then they talked about a lot of science things. Jackson came in cross-examination and basically said that the hair, the DNA that he found and tested, he can't say for sure that it's John O'Keefe's because this has a maternal thing. So it's anybody on the maternal side of the family that could link back to them as well. There was lots of back and forth between Jackson and Mr. Miyazaki because Jackson wanted him to confirm that as in Mr. Miyazaki, could not say that it was John's. And he kept dodging the question, not answering it. And then finally he admitted that he could not rule out anyone on John's mother's side of the family. There was a short redirect and a recross, and then he was done. Then we got to the witness that we've been waiting for since last week, which is witness number 35, Shannon Burgess, who works for Aperture. He's a digital forensic analyst, and he's the one that submitted the late report that was in question last week. They started off by getting some background information, and then he said he specializes in vehicle and phone forensics. Wrote some articles about this type of work that he does, explained the different information and reports and things like that he reviewed as part of this case. He explained how different modules in a vehicle work and how they work together to basically collect data. He explained how a black box works in a vehicle, and like most of us think it probably has a running time, but it doesn't. It's more of a stopwatch, so it stops and starts when the vehicle turns on, the ignition turns on, things like that. He said basically to know when anything happened in the vehicle, they would have to know when the ignition started. He believes data from the infotainment center was missed during the initial downloads, and that's the one that would have basically the clock, the start-stop functions, directions, phone contacts, devices, things like that within it. His working theory initially is that there was something wrong with the chips. And then when they got to look at it, he said that the secondary thing could have been that the chips were damaged when they were being taken out. However, he located the missing chip. Then they took a break. When they came back from the break, he said how he tested the missing SD card. He said that they were looking for those power on, power off events. He said the vehicle was powered on at 12:12 a.m. and powered off at 12:42 a.m. Now, mind you, this whole time he's got a PowerPoint up showing these things with a visual aid for the jury. He stated that the timestamps are from the vehicle's clock, not a universal time. Then discussed other times that the vehicle was turned on and turned off and how they correlated with events that we've already discussed prior to during this trial. Said clock variances between different devices are kind of the norm and can be up to a 60-second difference. Explained in science words the variance between Karen's car's clock and John's phone clock, and he said the variance tends to be between 21 to 29 seconds. He said that this means that Karen's car reversed at 12:32:04 to 12:32:12 a.m. And remember, John's phone was last locked at 12:32:09 a.m. Then they broke for lunch. And as a defense attorney, I would have hated for that information to be the last thing that the jury heard before they had a break and were really able to let that sink in, because that's quite the timeline. And then after lunch, Alessi came in with a cross and he kind of let him have it a little bit. First and foremost, they talked about the word forensics, what forensics is, and that forensics is basically a word that is used for the court of law. And that essentially, if you're doing something that is forensics, you know that it's going to show up in court at some day, or that it likely could. Alessi called him out on treating this case like it was a motor vehicle homicide before it was ever ruled that. And as we know, it was never ruled that. Alessi called him out about lying on his curriculum vitae, which is a very fancy word for resume, but it's what experts use. He had that man confirm that he, in fact, does not have a bachelor's degree, and then had him basically confirm that he has been pursuing this bachelor degree for 17 years. He's listed on the company webpage as having a bachelor's. He's also listed this on his LinkedIn page, which is no longer up, that he had a bachelor's. And coincidentally enough, as of Monday afternoon, he was no longer working at Aperture. Just basically made light of the fact that his LinkedIn page had all these inconsistencies and basically said people aren't there for the background, they're there for the post. And it's like, no. Basically, Alessi made this man admit to all of the things that he's lied about having this freaking bachelor's degree, and it is a lot. And if you're gonna lie about something like that and you're trying to be an expert up here and you want to be taken seriously, especially when it comes down to like literally seconds, you probably shouldn't lie about something that's so easy to debunk. Anyways, then they moved on to the science stuff, talked about computer bytes and computer bits. It was asked if the entire foundation of his proposal was due to the misunderstanding of the bytes and bits thing, and he said no, not all of it. Obviously, then he started getting questions about why he submitted a new supplemental report mid-May, mid-trial, and Burgess basically says like he hasn't done this in a very long time. He said that part of the report that says it was done at Brennan's request was actually a holdover from a prior report, aka it shouldn't have been there, but Then they ran into some tech issues after Alessi started asking him about Whiffin's report. Now, the issue is they couldn't get it up there, and then by the time they got the report up there, it was basically 4 o'clock, and Canoni's like, you know what, I'm going to send home the jury for the day, and that's it. Burgess will be on the stand tomorrow morning, and it'll probably pick up right here where we left off. Day 18 is over. Week 5 is off to an interesting start. And we were made aware that Tuesday will be a full day of testimony. Wednesday will be a full day of testimony. Thursday will be a partial day of testimony. And Friday, there will be no testimony taken at all due to the holiday weekend. Auntie Bev's so considerate. So that is your Day 18 recap. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. And here's your question of the day. Do you think he should be up there saying he's an expert and testifying to all these things when he's out here lying about having a bachelor's degree? Why would you lie about that? Let me know in the comments.